Here. Put this. Here. Oh, thank you. The Levi will be tomorrow. He doesn't know yet the time. Yeah, and I've been talking with him all morning. I know he's very good for you. Yeah, he got it at the end. That's what finally called the home phone. Thank you. I don't have the home very much. Appreciate it. I don't have the home. So, you know, good. It was good because my phone was. Okay. Good morning. It's a special morning because it falls here. It's a special morning. Okay, Baruch Hashem, the first day in Elul. It's an exciting day. So interesting shaila that someone asked me this week. Very sweet boy. He says his grandfather is in Israel right now, and is the doorman in his grandfather has among other places. He has a house, an apartment in Manhattan, and the doorman knows the grandchildren and trusts them. So the doorman would definitely give them the key to go into his grandfather's apartment. Now the problem is his grandfather had a bar mitzvah 68 years ago and refuses to check his film. And he has a shad that his grandfather's film might be apostle and maybe didn't become apostle, but maybe originally were never kosher. He wants to know if he could get the keys for the apartment from the doorman, go into his grandfather's apartment. He'll go in. He'll get the film. He'll check them. He'll fix them. He'll put in new parashiyos. His grandfather wouldn't know the difference. His grandfather's not using it now. His grandfather is a very strong member in his conservative temple, and when he's in New York and he attends services, he puts on film. Oh wow! In Israel. Yeah, exactly. I think the service is only on Sunday. Right now, they're still doing services. They're doing services on Zoom still.
Thank God. I graduated this year. They have a temple over there, Temple Beth Shalom. Big sign. Services Friday night on Zoom and in person.
I was there and I walked in the first second. They got scared
of it.
No, they locked the door. I said, me and my cousin. No, they have the whole Zoom. They're singing Torah. Okay. So first, let me just talk a little bit about is there an obligation to check film? Is there an obligation to check mezuzahs? Because the truth is that it says in your day that mezuzah has to be checked once in twice 7 years, and mezuzah should have once 50 years, and tefillin are potter for being checked. So l'chayda, it's potter from being checked to begin with. So let's read a little bit over here. The Alter Rebbe writes in Shulchan Aruch Tzimah Lametes Sif Yudal of tefillin shulchus bekashrus pam achas ein tzara b'dika lo'elam. If we know that these tefillin are kosher, you don't have to check them. Minadin shekol zman shechipuim shalom and ebeches kosan shem nimchika ois metoichan oy nikba. As long as the tefillin on the outside are whole, you're not kosher that something foul happened on the inside, that a letter was erased, or there was a nekev. It is a good thing to check tefillin, because a person sweats and the steam goes in and it does do damage to the words on the cloth. If a person is not constantly putting on the tefillin, only leprokim, tzrichim bedika pa'amayim b'sheva shanim sheyesh lochu shema nisapshu. If the guy is putting on tefillin all the time, then and he knows that the tefillin were kosher to begin with, he's part of bedika. But if he's not using it all the time, it's chayv bedika. V'chenim nikra hachipui tzarich bedika. V'chenim nishru b'mayim, if they got in contact with water. If he has no one that could knows how to open it and close it, then might as well not check.
So you're saying that if he uses it all the time, then he really doesn't need to check.
No problem.
Right. If he doesn't, then he does.
Then he does have.
Why is that?
Yeah.
Why? Because then they could be ma'apish. It said that's what he said. It's going to get no, not for perspiration. It gets ruined because it's sitting idle in one place, not moisture.
I thought they're supposed to be checked every year.
Oh, so we'll get to that in a second. The next is halacha test there. Ein loikchen tefillin elem min a mumche. Shebaki b'chasedes v'yasedes. You're only allowed to buy tefillin from someone who's a mumche. Aber loy me mishe ein mumche. Ava pisho roitze laboitkan. Lefi sheshloch Hashem yisatzel b'bidikosef. A person must buy the tefillin from a mumche. Now let's read another thing. The Rebbe says in the Fabrengen, year of Tismach. That says, and the Rebbe says like this: Isa b'achroinim and the Mata Ephraim from Ephraim's Alma Magolus. Yesh anshe ma'isen noigim shebechodesh hazeh mefash v'shem b'dikdukim mitzvah. That anshe ma'isa are in this month from the first day of Elul. They not only are introspective in themselves, but also are looking at themselves vis-a-vis the mitzvahs they're doing. Every year in the month of Elul, they're boidek u'boichen the tefillin mezuzahs, and also other mitzvahs. But this is minik toiv. The Rebbe asks that every person should try to be mishtadel to as much people. If you know anyone, please tell them about this special thing on the bracha and Elul to check the tefillin mezuzahs. As I said, this is a sikha from the Chodesh in year Disma. Okay. So number one, there is an inyan to check tefillin mezuzahs. That, as we know, there is. The Rebbe showed us that the Yid's life and his mitzvahs are not two separate things. We know hundreds of stories of people that had issues, and the Rebbe said, even you already checked your tefillin mezuzahs, you should check it again. We had in the sukkah here Rabbi Chaim, who passed away Nebuch from the corona. He was already a zokin. He's a printer. In Crown Heights, he has the Empire Press. You know, like a lot of the benches are from Empire Press. You see in the bottom. So Rabbi Chaim, what happened was that his parent, he was like a Lebedike Yosem. When the parents saw that Lubavitchers are going out of Russia, but he needed to stay a little longer. So they put him on a train, and he was, I don't remember, he told us the story, he was 3 or 4 years old. In 48, they put him on a train and he left with all the Lubavitchers. And he didn't see his parents till after his wedding. And he always used to ask the Rebbe for Rebbe give him brochas. The end of the his parents were able to come out of Russia. In the meantime, he met up with his grandparents in Israel. So his grandparents really raised him. So his grandmother had Nebuch, that generation. There wasn't. So she had a lot of Nebuch horror stories in her life. And she had nightmares, and it was terrible. She couldn't sleep at night. So she asked her grandson, Motel, that he should write a letter to the Rebbe, ask what to do. The Rebbe said that you check the mezuzahs. They checked the mezuzahs, they were 100% kosher. And so he wrote again to the Rebbe, and the Rebbe said that when I said to check the mezuzahs, I didn't only mean to check the kashas of the mezuzah, to check the position, that every door has a mezuzah and that it's in the right spot. And they realized there was actually a back door that's chayav a mezuzah and that didn't have a mezuzah on it. They put it on, and Baruch Hashem, the nightmares went away. But we see that there's hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands, of stories of the Rebbe. The chiddush of the Rebbe is that he showed that the life of the Yid and Torah, not kehem chayenu, is not two different things. That the life of the Yid mamish is kehem chayenu, the Torah is archayis, and the Rebbe showed us that every ois v'koitz in the Tefillin mezuzahs is connected to every ois v'koitz in our health. So the Rebbe was very big into checking Tefillin mezuzah. Huh? Who? So. Unbelievable, yeah. So the Rebbe said a lot of times it's not only about checking the mezuzah, about checking to make sure every door has and that it's in the right place. Let's read a letter from the Rebbe. Masha Amru Chazal v'nifsak shemezuzah serabim nivdekes pam b'yoyv l'mezuzah yoch pamayim b'shmita zorak k'sheboru shemezuzah ksheresh malachatchila avaloi kefi shamatza hi b'zmanenu sheyesh listapek k'machlal munich masher b'beis ha'mezuzah Hashem hireke v'chein yesh listapek k'mezuzah k'suva l'klap Hashem mitfusa kosav li odam shemuker li ki ish nemen shemotzav mezuzah klap v'alov k'suva b'ksav yad birchas koyenim.
Wow.
Now, anyone that had ever, probably many people in this room that ever went on Mitzrayim to check film mezuzahs, you could tell right away the mezuzahs. Some of them that you know that there's going to be zero inside, and some of them you know is going to be paper inside, and you know, like you could tell. What does I? So the Rebbe says, and when do we say that it's potter from checking film and mezuzahs only twice in 7 years? Is when a Chatchila had a cheskes kashrus, but this boy, his eidest film, I doubt that it has the Chatchila cheskes kashrus. One more thing, the Rebbe brings a shita from the Rosh. Look at the next paragraph. Biggest film mezuzahs ein barosh five film. It says in the pasuk miyamim yamima miyamim yud beis chodesh that you have to check the film mezuzahs every 12 chodesh. Okay, so let's go back to the show. Definitely. These tefillin are chuv to be checked. So the question is the boy allowed to cunningly get the keys to his grandfather's apartment to go in, to take the to go to take the tefillin to fix it and bring it back? So there's so l'chaydi you're allowed to. This week's parasha it says ki yibcho evye me'achad achecha ve'achad sherecha ba'artzcha sheshem lakecha noisen lochlis ametz es lavavcha v'loisikpetz es yodcha machecha evyen. And the Shulchan Aruch paskins in near the day Simon Tov Mem Ches, like most of the Rishon, it says, if a person, Robin Hood is not a stam story in the Lavona, that if a person has money and he's not giving tzedakah, Bezin has a chiyuv to go break his door, take some of his money, take it from the rich and give it to the poor.
Oh.
I don't know. So that's the Alter Rebbe has a whole mind where he says why Bizman Hazeh we don't do it. That it's a different time. That this was in a different generation. But anyway, but what you see from here is that it's a chiyuv bezd, not on a private person. Since this little boy is not a bezd, so there's no shayla that you can't go mitzad ma'asan al mitzvah. There's another issue. There's a shayla of Geneva here. The Alter Rebbe says Shulchan Aruch Shemitrach is Geneva. If you look at this next paragraph, I feel a going of aldas lahagzer oise achefetz la'atzmei el sheloitze l'tzad is man ma feel enke vanos l'tzad eklal shegoin of deres choik zereve beloitase v'yeshem im shein oser elam adivri seifrim shlo yargel atzmei bekach. So maybe it's a shayla of Geneva. The thing is like this. I don't think it's a forcing of a mitzvah or Geneva. I'll explain why. Forcing a mitzvah is when you're taking someone's money out of his pocket and he's not interested in doing it. The boy is not planning to take money from his grandfather's wallet. The boy is planning to spend his own money. He's planning to spend his own money. He's not, and the fact that he's taking the film in order to fix it, and he's going to give it back, it's very hard to say that that's a din of Geneva. Because he is it's only a schus. It's not there's very few the Chazal say Zochem Adam Shalai B'Ponim. So therefore, I think Lamaisa, I told the boy that if he could do it in a way that his grandfather won't find out about it, that he could take the film, and for sure the parshas are going to be possible. He has to first talk to a sofer that the sofer actually has in stock those little kosher parshas that are small enough to go in to his grandfather's bottom. Otherwise, he's wasting his time. Like the Alter Rebbe says, if you can't fix it, might as well not open it to begin with. Don't open up a can of worms if you don't have the means to clean it up. So if he has to go to a sofer, find out that the sofer has little parshas that are actually in stock and that are actually kosher, and then he'll go to his Zaydi's apartment in Manhattan, take the film with his own money he'll pay the sofer to open it, take out the old parshas, and if they're possible, to put in new parshas and put it back. And a Zaidi won't know about it. I think that's 100% mutter.
There's a difference between Saful Adam Shalomida and Saful Adam negative. So no, it's a big difference.
Right, I hear, but they hear, but the Roitza Adam Latzis is called a mitzvah. The Rambam says Vasrachik and Kol Avedis. So you're not allowed to be ma'asa someone unless the bezdin is ma'asa. But here he's not being ma'asa. Ma'asa would mean ma'asa, to force, to hit. If he me'asin ala mitzvahs, koifin ala mitzvahs. He's not. If he would, he's not. Bezdin perhaps would be permissible for them to take money out of his grandfather's account and pay for the fixing the film. So he's not allowed to take money. But here, how could you say it's negative that it's sign of the grandfather? The grandfather doesn't know what he wants, what he doesn't want. The Rambam says in the second page of Hilchos Gedushin that every Yid wants to do all the mitzvahs and wants a misrachik min avedis.
Okay, that was in the old generations, but today we know there's the force people and not force anything of people. It just makes them rebel.
He won't know anything. I'm telling the boy,
And maybe
he can only do it. No, he's not agreeing. Huh?
Likely they'll see that they don't understand. That they don't talk to say conviction or that they do.
That's I no look. A person might suspect, but I told him if he could do it in a way that he could put it back in the same place, and the grandfather might not know lo yoda b'shichva v'kuma, he'll see the same film, or really the parshas inside are brand new parshas and they're kosher. I think it's mutter to do.
What about the old parshas? Even though the apostle, what if we could not save it?
I should put it in Sheamus. My guess is that there'll be pieces of paper. My guess will be nothing in there. They put in Sheamus. Okay. A shaila that someone asked me this week. He had the shiksa saw there was a lot of there was a lot of apples, extra apples in the house, and there was extra time in her hands. So she decided to be very kind and do them a favor. She made them a pot full of applesauce.
On Shabbos?
No, Monday. I don't know. See, the person asked me, Shaila, Monday or Tuesday.
Does it matter?
So now that makes a difference. So now his Shaila was about Bishalakim. This week's Pasha is all about kosher, right? The whole Pasha today. His question was about the applesauce, and the question was also about the pot. Does he have to kosher the pot? So Chazal made a special gzeda. They didn't want us to get very close to the goyim, and they made a gzeda against Bishulak. So let's read in the Shulchan Aruch. Yeridei Simen Kuf Yud Gimel Sif Dalet. Dovish ein nech k'may shuchai. Begam oil al shulchan malachim. Rabbi Zabeis food that you can't eat raw, but it's choshev food that it will go onto a choshev table in a meal, together with bread to accompany the bread. Oil parperes, shabishul goy, afilu b'kli Yisrael v'beis Yisrael also shabishul le'avit kechaven. Okay. So the thing is like this. We spoke about this recently about apples. That in the old times, the apples before. When the people came, for example, in the United States of America, the apples were not, you couldn't eat apples. They're very tart. That's why there's a whole culture in America of making apple cider, making apple pie. There is a whole culture in America of what to do with apples because the original settlers in America couldn't eat the apples. But the Bisman Hazeh, the apples, they figured out how to make apples that are delicious. And constantly they're figuring out new breeds of apples. Like in the past 10 years, it became very popular to the Honey Crisp, which was invented by Cornell University. That there's new apples that are coming out all the time, and these are nechel. They're very delicious. That's a good shayla. It's a good shayla. It's a song. But lapoil, you're allowed to eat it. That's no shayla. You're allowed to eat it. So today the apples are nechel, kamoishu chai. It's the same like water. So therefore it's therefore the pot. The person didn't want to eat it anyway. So they asked me about the pot. I said you don't have to kasher the pot. There's a shaila that came up last night that I mean, this is not, it's a milsa David Legluya. This, it's not like, there's someone in the shul that's going to have a Levaya Mitzvah on a Monday. Unfortunately, his father was in a place, and his father walked out Friday night, the middle of the night, and he walked out with his walker, and he collapsed. And 6 o'clock in the morning, someone saw, person on the ground. They called the police. The police based in Garnished, so they took him to the medical examiner's office. Now, Motzei Shabbos, he finds out that his father's in the medical examiner's office. So, two questions. Number one, is he allowed to go identify his father? And number two, is he have a din of oinen? Usually, a person, from when a loved one passed away until a loved one is buried, he has a din of an oinen. That means he's not allowed to make havdalah, and he's not allowed to make a bracha Rishon, and a bracha Chodesh, and not allowed to daven, b'chulu. So, not that that he thought that this was a question, but he was just wondering. So, the thing is like this: the Shulchan Aruch says in Yoreh De'ah, Misha Meis B'Tfisa, a person that passed away and he's in a jail. Oh, one more thing before the shaila was like this: he called the medical examiner's office, and there was an answering machine that goes like this. It's like a song. Yashikeini betzad hasheni. I'm sorry. It's like that's the way they do their business. They don't care about Sven. Call us 9 o'clock in the morning. No one here is alive anyway. So there's no one home. The fridges are locked. Call us tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock. That's it. Don't bother us. So now the thing is like this. The thing is that a person that died, right? But there's nothing he can do. There's nothing he can do. He called up. He called and he called and he called, and he was told there's nothing you could do. There's nothing you could do. So I think the pshat is like this. The din is in Siman Shin Mem Aleph in Yoreh De'ah, Misha Meis B'Tfisa. A person that has nebuch a loved one, a father that died in jail, and the administration of the jail is not allowing the body to be released. On the other hand, they don't have the din of avelus because they're still trying to negotiate with the administration of the jail in order to get the body to be able to bury it. So there's no aninus and there's no avelus. Okay, it's the same thing here. What happened? That his father's body is by the medical examiner, and since the answering machine said "Yashikeini b'tzad hasheni," that you talk to the wall right now, and the wall will hear you better than we will hear you. We're not interested. You can't contact anyone. There's no one to talk to until 9 o'clock in the morning. So for all intents and purposes, his father's body is in a tfisa right now. It's locked up by the medical examiner. And there's no way he could climb in through a window and take his. It's not like he can go with Mazaskim and climb through a window, which would be a federal crime, and steal his father's body. So in Mela, his father's body until 9 o'clock in the morning is betfisa. So I said that he could say Havdalah, and he could wake up in the morning and he could shower, and he can go to the mikveh and he could daven, and could say Hallel and do everything he needs to do. Make sure he's done. He can eat breakfast to make a bracha Rishon, bracha Achrona. Make sure he's done by 9 o'clock. 9 o'clock he should call, and that's what he did. And okay, they answered the phone. 9 o'clock they answered the phone, and
9 o'clock in the morning.
no, Sunday. You can call Sunday. Very good. They're nice. They're nice. They're very nice about it.
They show me Shabbos.
They show me Shabbos, yeah. They show me their sleep. So okay, they should help them. We should know such star. They should. It's a special mitzvah. Keep it over aim. And for this we have Laman Yerichon Yomecha. The Chodesh. It's going to be graveside Levayat in Beth David. They don't know yet, based on when they release the body. It's going to be on Monday, and they think it'll be about 2 o'clock. Beth David about 2 o'clock.
Where's Beth Davis?
It's in Elmont.
Yeah.
Queens.
Yeah,
Elmont
Queens,
Road.
Long Island, yeah. So it's about 50-minute drive from here.
It's very close to the Ohio. It should not-
Yeah, yeah, it's another 10 minutes past the oil.
How do you find out about it?
How did he find out? They had ID in his. His father had ID in his pockets, which was good.
Yeah, but put him on shop.
I guess he didn't answer. He heard his answering machine. I'm not. I'm asking. I need to know what I need to know for halacha. The other things I'm not. I'm not. So just to finish off, Chodesh Elul, there's a minhag every day to blow shofar. Mitzvah Shem before Rosh Hashanah. I'm going to learn a mega sikha about this. I'm not going to ruin it right now, and the time is short. But I just want to tell a story. In the year Tafshin Chav Zayin, 1967, and I wasn't around 770 then, but the summer over here that was around. The Rebbe, the whole year, the Rebbe was koching that there's a danger to Klal Yisrael. Before it was, when the 6-Day War broke out, they knew why from the beginning of the year, the Rebbe was koching that the Yidden are in danger and we have to do something. The Rebbe then said, the pasuk says, that the nations will see that God's name is on you and they will fear you. On the head. The Rebbe said we should get every single Jew in this generation to put on tefillin. They start the campaign. When Israel had this unbelievable victory, there was not one human being in this world that didn't look up and say, wow, that the Eibishter looks, maybe except for him. But every person in the entire globe looked up and all Jews felt like, wow, and Jews lined up and rolled up their sleeves, thousands. Right after the war was Shavuos. So at the meal, the Rebbe's brother-in-law told him, and the Rebbe's chus, 200,000 Yidden started to put on film. The Rebbe said, what, only 200,000? So at that time, there was an unbelievable assidus of tshuva. There's no question that there's a lot of Baal Tshuva yeshivas that started. It was a really turning point in Jewish history. A lot of young Jews whose parents were not religious, but all of a sudden wanted to know more about the Jewish identity. And there was an unbelievable assidus in Klal Yisrael. So at the end of the summer, it was Rosh Hashanah, the Rebbe said a maimer, which is the last maimer we have from the Rebbe Muga from Rosh Hashanah. The Rebbe later published it in the year Tafshin and Beis, but he said it in 67, the 68 already. No, 67 still, the secular calendar. The Rebbe said a maimer at the Kab. It says, you talk of the shofar gadol. Here, Beis Menachem Mendel, the minhag is to sing it with a beautiful tune. And it's a beautiful pasuk. And Chazal used this pasuk to build a brocha in Shmoneser Beis. Takab b'shofar gadol l'cheresenu, v'sonis takab etzkol yisenu, kaptzeni yachem arba kam v'soretz l'artzenu, which is based on this pasuk. Like all the brachas in Shmoneser are really based on different psukim. So this pasuk is based on this bracha is based on this pasuk. So the Rebbe brings for Chassidus that there's one in the psukim that we say in Rosh Hashanah. There's one pasuk that says Hashem Elokim b'shofar yiskor v'olach b'saris tema, which is talking about when the Jews came to Mount Sinai and the Eibishter blew the shofar for them. And here it says U'mashiach v'hoya b'yom yitaka b'shofar gadol. We see a very big difference between the two psukim. In the pasuk that talks about Mount Torah, it says Hashem Elikim b'shofar yitka. It's telling you who is blowing the shofar. In the pasuk when Mashiach comes, it doesn't tell you who's blowing shofar. It says V'hoya b'yomahu yitaka b'shofar. It doesn't say who's blowing it. Not only it doesn't say who.
We don't know who is the Mashiach.
Not only that, it says yitaka as if it's going to be blowing from itself. Yitaka with a kametz is yitaka as if it's blowing on its own. So what's the pshat, and why is it that when the pasuk talking about Mount Torah it says Shem Elokim b'shofar yiskor v'holach b'saris teiman, that it says regular shofar, and why is it when Mashiach comes it says shofar gadol? So Chassidus brings that there's a pirkei in the Rebbe Lezer that says that when Avraham Avinu brought his son to the Akedah, the Eibishter said that there is an aisle. There was aisle achanechas b'svach b'karnav. And that aisle had two karnaim at the pirkei in the Rebbe Lezer. A small and a big one, on the right, on the left. On the right was a big, and the left a small. The Eibishter took the two karnaim and he made two shofars, a small shofar and a big shofar. This is For Ashkenazim, this is a big shofar. A small shofar and a big shofar. The small shofar he used for the shofar of Matan Torah, and the big shofar he put away, and that's going to be used when Mashiach is going to come. So Chassidus explains like this, that when you want to holler for someone, so how much of a voice do you need? Depends. If the guy is right there, you don't have to scream. Say hello, and he can hear you. The person's far away, you have to scream loud. When the Yidden were close to the Eibishter, not only physically, we're talking spiritually, that the Yidden were excited to get the Torah, and they were all standing besachti sahor. They didn't need a shofar god, a regular shofar. And who blew the shofar? Havaya Lakim, which is the highest level of godly revelation, the highest Yud-Kei Vav-Kei. But when Mashiach is going to come, there's going to be Oivde Beretz Asher Vanedochim Beretz Mitzrayim. What does Chassidus say? What is that? There's two types of Jews then. There'll be there lost in materialism. Asher is Maloshin pleasure. Toivel B'Shem and Agli. Asher is Maloshin Tainug. And those that are lost in pleasure of worldliness and materialism, they're not interested in godliness. They're not interested in spirituality. And then there are Jews that are wallowing in pain. The Poshet Nevach in pain. Mitzrayim. Asher and Mitzrayim are the two opposite types of Jews. There's Jews that are going to be in unbelievable pain, so they're desensitized. They don't hear the voice of the call of the shofar. And then there's those that are so interested in materialism, they also don't hear the call of the shofar. So, Hoya Bayoimahu Yitoka, the Eibush themselves, that the Zohar says the Lois and Ambush Bishum Ois Vekoitz. The Eibush himself, before he has a name, before Yud-Kei Vav-Kei, Yud-Kei Vav-Kei is the highest name of the Eibush. This is the highest revelation. But the Eibush, before he has a name, the Eibush himself, and that's why it says Yitoka. Why does it say Yitoka? Because on Shofar, Rosh Hashanah, or the Shofar that we blow on Yovel, it's Mida Keneged Mida. When we blow Shofar, the Eibush says, Shapra Maseichem, the Jews blew the Shofar, I'm going to sustain the world for another year. And the schus of the Jews doing their Avodas Hashem and their commitment, I'm also going to make a commitment. Chassidus says that's why we blow shofar. We don't only say words of prayer, because shofar is merames of a tzaika, pnimius alev. All year we talk to God. And on Rosh Hashanah we cry to God from the depth of our heart. And when we cry from the depth of the heart, a tzaika, pnimius alev, then the Eibush says, the Eibush has unbelievable pleasure from that avoida, that we turn to him from the depth of our heart, and he says, it's worth to have the world for another year. Otherwise, we can destroy the world. But now that the Yidden blow shofar, it says, if the Yidden blow shofar, I want to be melech olam, I want to be a king of this world for another year. It's worthwhile. Because Beis B'Reishis, the Eibush created the world for the Jew. So if the Jew is doing avodas Hashem, the Eibush wants the world. But on Rosh Hashanah, it's not just that avodas Hashem. We're going back. Like, are we interested in doing this thing or not? Regular avodas Hashem is not going to do. But when a Jew cries from the depth of his heart, the bechi of the shofar, so the Eibush, the Mida Keneged Mida, decides he'll be the Melech HaOlam. He's going to be the king of the world. So that's the regular avodas Hashem. So the regular avodas Hashem is that when the Jew blows shofar, the Eibush blows shofar. But when Mashiach is going to come, there'll be Jews that are not interested in Judaism. They're lost in Asher and they're lost in Mitzrayim. Yitoka, even though they didn't blow, the Eibush it's going to be blowing on them on its own, and that will make that even the Jews that are ba'arba kanfas aretz will all of a sudden they'll feel heart palpitations. They feel that all of a sudden they were into materialism, or they were in pain and they were wallowing in their own world. But all of a sudden there'll be the call of the shofar Godel, that unbelievable shofar that will reverberate from one end of the world to the other end of the world, and the Jewish heart won't be able to ignore it. And therefore, and that's why the Chazal made the bracha to Kabbalah shofar Godel l'cheidesein. We want not the regular, we want the call of the shofar, but not the call of the regular shofar. We want the call of the shofar Godel. And that's for sure going to be ma'or the heart of every single Zum Arba campus or it's like saying.
The Yammanites,
They have a shofar God, very big shofar.
so they
That's
believe that more
right.
than
Yeah,
everybody
exactly.
else.
They're looking for the shofar God. That's the one from the right side that the Eibush put aside. That's the shofar God. So the Rebbe says on the one hand, that gives us unbelievable, that's what, the Rebbe says that in the 6 Day War, that's really what happened. The Eibishter blew the shofar Godel, that Mashiach is about to come, that the Eibishter blew the big shofar, and that's why Yidden lined up in droves and rolled up their sleeves, and that's why there was all of a sudden the Balei Tshuva yeshivas, and there was a Baal Tshuva movement, something that didn't happen, that for 2,000 years in Yidden and Angolas, because the neshama of the Jew all of a sudden heard the neshama, not the ear, the physical ear, but the neshama of the Yid heard the call of the big shofar. So now that's the first day of Elul, and we're blowing the shofar. David shall help that every one of our hearts should hear the call of the big shofar. We should be zoichetake, that we should hear the voice of the big shofar. Tekab b'shofar godel l'cheresena b'vias Mashiach tzedkeinu.
Don't forget Ya'aleh v'yavo b'kat hamazon. For the next design, because I have a suggestion.
Who?
Syria, I don't know there.
Shalom.
Syria.
Azar.
It says, I came on the email, it says it's available.